I'm about to tell you is not normal. And if you receive Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, this directly affects you. Over the past few days, something unusual has been happening across the country, quietly, without major headlines, without clear explanations. Thousands of Social Security files are suddenly being reopened. Not new applications, not new retirees, existing files, long-standing beneficiaries, people who have already been receiving payments for years. And here's what's making people nervous and curious at the same time. Some beneficiaries are reporting account changes, some are seeing new review notices, some are being told their file is under evaluation, and a smaller group is seeing something that instantly raises eyebrows. Payment adjustments that look like double deposits scheduled as early as next week. Now, before you get too excited or too worried, take a breath. This is not a rumor pulled from social media. This is not a scam headline designed to scare you. This is something real happening inside the Social Security system right now. And the reason it matters is because this kind of review does not happen at this scale unless something bigger is going on behind the scenes. Let me ask you a question. Have you checked your Social Security account recently and noticed something look different? A message you didn't expect, a payment description that didn't match last month, or maybe you received a letter that didn't clearly explain why your file was being looked at again. If so, you are not alone. Across the country, retirees, SSI recipients, SSDI beneficiaries, widows, and even people who haven't changed anything in years are asking the same thing. Why now? Why are files being reopened in 2026 when benefits were already approved long ago? And most importantly, does this mean more money is coming, or does it mean trouble? Because here's the truth. When people hear the words file reopened, panic sets in. People immediately think benefits are being cut, or that they did something wrong, or that they're about to lose income they depend on to survive. But that is not what's happening for everyone. In fact, for many people, this review process is tied to something completely different, something most beneficiaries never realize until it shows up in their account. Corrections, delayed adjustments, missed calculations, and yes, in certain cases, money that should have been paid earlier but wasn't. That's why this situation feels confusing, and that's why so many people are getting mixed signals right now. Some are seeing no changes at all, some are seeing review notices, some are seeing payment increases, and a smaller group is seeing what looks like two payments lined up close together. That's where the phrase double payment is coming from, and that phrase alone is enough to send shockwaves through Social Security circles. But here's the truth. Most headlines are not explaining. A double payment does not always mean a bonus. It does not always mean a stimulus. And it does not mean everyone qualifies. What it usually means is that the system is correcting something. Now, here's where this gets serious. Social Security does not reopen files casually. These files represent real people, real income, real federal records. Reopening a file requires justification, internal triggers, and system flags. And the fact that thousands of files are being reviewed at the same time tells us this is not about individual mistakes. This is systemic. Something inside the system has shifted, and when that happens, it can affect payments in ways that feel sudden and confusing, especially if no one explains it clearly. That's why I want you to stay with me through this explanation, because once you understand what's happening, this stops being scary and starts making sense. Right now, what we're seeing is the early stage of a large-scale review cycle. Some people are finding out first, others will hear later, and many won't hear anything at all because their file doesn't need changes. But for those who are affected, the timing matters. Why now? Why early 2026? Why are people talking about next week? Those questions don't have one simple answer, but they do have a logical explanation once you see the full picture. And no, this is not Social Security suddenly giving away money. It's not random generosity. It's something much more technical and much more important. Behind the scenes, Social Security systems regularly compare benefit records against updated data, earnings records, income reports, COLA adjustments, eligibility thresholds, survivor benefits, disability updates, spousal calculations. Most of the time, these checks happen quietly. But sometimes, when enough discrepancies show up at once, the system flags entire groups for review. That's when files reopen. That's when adjustments happen. And that's when beneficiaries start seeing activity they weren't expecting. Now, here's the key point you need to understand right now. A reopened file does not automatically mean bad news. In many cases, it means the opposite. It means something was incomplete, something was delayed, something was miscalculated, or something changed that was never fully applied to your benefit. And when those corrections are processed, the system doesn't always spread the money out neatly. Sometimes it releases adjustments in lump sums. Sometimes it combines payments. Sometimes it updates monthly amounts going forward. And that's why people are talking about payments appearing larger than usual. But here's where I need you to slow down and listen carefully. Not everyone will receive extra money. Not everyone will receive a correction, and not everyone should expect a payment next week. What's happening right now is a sorting process, and whether you are affected depends on very specific details tied to your file. That's why panic is not helpful, and that's why blind excitement can also be dangerous. What matters right now is understanding what type of beneficiary is most likely to be affected, and why. Because the people who benefit the most from this review cycle are not random. They share patterns. And once you see those patterns, you'll know exactly where you stand. Now let's talk about what's really happening behind the scenes, because once you understand this part, everything you're seeing right now starts to make sense. Social Security does not wake up one morning and randomly decide to reopen thousands of files. That simply does not happen. Every reopened case is triggered by something specific inside the system. And right now, several triggers are colliding at the same time. Here's the truth most people are never told. Social Security runs on layers of data: earnings records, income reports, disability status updates, cost of living adjustments, spousal and survivor benefit calculations, banking information, address changes, work activity reports. And those layers don't always update at the same speed. Sometimes they lag, sometimes they conflict, and sometimes they reveal that a beneficiary was underpaid without anyone realizing it. That's where this current situation begins. Over the past year, Social Security has been under pressure to clean up long-standing backlogs, not new applications. Old records, files that were approved years ago but never fully reconciled after policy updates, system upgrades, or income reporting changes. When those cleanup processes begin, the system starts running comparisons. It compares what you were paid against what you should have been paid. It compares your earnings record against what employers reported. It compares your eligibility thresholds against updated federal guidelines. And when something doesn't line up, your file gets flagged. That flag is what reopens your case. Now, here's something important you need to hear. A reopened file does not mean Social Security thinks you did something wrong. In many cases, it means the system thinks it did something wrong. That's a big difference. Let me break down the most common reasons files are being reopened right now in plain English. First, payment calculation errors. These are situations where benefits were calculated using incomplete or outdated information. This can happen with retirement benefits, disability benefits, and especially spousal or survivor benefits. If a calculation was even slightly off, that error can carry forward for years. Second, delayed adjustments. Sometimes you qualify for an increase, but the system doesn't apply it right away. This can happen after income changes, disability reviews, or cost of living adjustments. When the adjustment finally processes, it may include months of missed increases. Third, earnings record mismatches. This one is more common than people realize. If your work history wasn't fully credited, or if earnings were reported late or incorrectly, your benefit amount could have been lower than it should have been. When those records are corrected, Social Security has to revisit your entire payment history. Fourth, COLA misapplications. Cost of living adjustments are supposed to apply automatically, but in some cases, especially for people who started benefits mid-year or changed benefit type, COLA increases were not applied correctly. Those errors don't always show up immediately. Fifth, overlooked spousal or survivor credits. This is a big one. Many people qualify for additional benefits based on a spouse's work record, a deceased spouse, or even an ex-spouse. If those credits were never fully applied, Social Security has to go back and correct it. Sixth, SSI and SSDI income reviews. SSI and SSDI benefits are tied closely to income limits. When income reporting changes or gets updated retroactively, the system may need to reevaluate past payments. That can result in adjustments in either direction, but right now, many reviews are uncovering underpayments. Now, here's why this review cycle is different from past ones. The scale. Normally, these corrections happen quietly and slowly, one file at a time, one adjustment here and there, but this time, the system is processing large batches of records at once. Why? Because Social Security has been updating automation systems. New processing tools are comparing years of data faster than ever before. And when those tools identify patterns, they don't just flag one file, they flag thousands. That's why so many people are hearing about reviews at the same time, and that's why it feels sudden. Now let's talk about the phrase that has everyone talking: double payments. This is where confusion spreads fast, so listen carefully. A double payment does not mean Social Security is suddenly paying everyone twice. What it usually means is this: a regular monthly payment is being issued. At the same time, a correction or retroactive amount is being released. When those two amounts land close together, or even on the same day, it looks like a double payment. But it's not a bonus. It's not a stimulus. It's not new money. It's owed money. Money that should have been paid earlier but wasn't. And when the system finally releases it, it doesn't always break it into neat monthly pieces. Sometimes it releases it all at once. That's why some people are seeing unusually large deposits scheduled or pending. Now, here's the part most people don't realize. Social Security does not announce these corrections loudly. There is no press conference. There is no headline saying we fixed old mistakes. Instead, beneficiaries find out through account updates, notices, or payments that look different. And that's why this situation feels mysterious and unsettling. You're seeing movement without explanation. But here's the key takeaway from this part. This is not random. This is not targeted punishment. This is not a benefit cut wave. This is a correction cycle. And correction cycles always affect some people more than others. Which brings us to the most important question of all. Who is most likely to see an increase? Who is most likely to see a review notice? And who needs to be especially careful right now? Now, this is the part where you need to listen very closely, because this is where everything becomes personal. At this stage, the biggest mistake people make is assuming this affects everyone the same way. It does not. Social Security reviews never hit all beneficiaries equally. They hit patterns. And if you fall into one of these patterns, you are far more likely to see changes, including increased payments, retroactive money, or temporary account holds. Let's start with who is most likely to benefit from what's happening right now. First, long-term Social Security retirees. If you've been collecting retirement benefits for several years, especially if you claimed before full retirement age or changed your work activity after claiming, your file is more complex than you think. Even small miscalculations early on can follow you for years. These long-term files are some of the first being reviewed because they carry the highest risk of underpayment over time. Second, SSI recipients with income changes. SSI is extremely sensitive to income reporting. If your income changed in the past, even temporarily, and that change wasn't fully processed at the time, the system may now be correcting it. In many cases, that correction works in the recipient's favor, especially if income was overestimated or reported incorrectly. Third, SSDI beneficiaries who return to limited work. This group is seeing a lot of activity right now. When SSDI recipients attempt to work within allowed limits, the reporting process can become messy. If work activity was misclassified or delayed, it can lead to incorrect benefit adjustments. When those errors are corrected, past underpayments can be released. Fourth, widows, widowers, and surviving spouses. Survivor benefits are one of the most commonly underpaid areas in the entire Social Security system. Timing matters, filing dates matter, age matters, and if any part of that calculation was off, the system has to go back and fix it. Many survivor files are being reopened right now for that exact reason. Fifth, divorced spouses. This one surprises a lot of people. If you were married long enough and meet eligibility rules, you may qualify for benefits on an ex-spouse's record. Those benefits are often misunderstood, misapplied, or never fully calculated. When the system catches that, it triggers a review. Sixth, people who delayed retirement credits. If you delayed claiming benefits past full retirement age, your monthly amount increases. But those delayed credits don't always apply cleanly in the system, especially if you had prior benefit activity. Corrections in this area can lead to back pay. Seventh, anyone who recently updated banking information or mailing address. This does not mean you did something wrong, but account changes can trigger internal verification checks. When those checks overlap with a system-wide review cycle, your file may be reopened even if everything is correct. Now let's talk about the part everyone is whispering about. Why do some people see what looks like a double payment? Here's exactly how that happens. In some cases, Social Security releases a corrected payment for a past month at the same time as your regular monthly benefit. That creates two deposits close together. In other cases, a previously held payment is released along with the current one. And sometimes multiple months of underpayment are bundled together and paid in one lump sum. To the person receiving it, it looks like two payments, but technically it's one regular payment plus one correction. That distinction matters because it tells you whether this money continues or stops. A correction is usually a one-time release. A recalculated benefit can increase your monthly amount going forward. Now let's talk about timing, because this is where rumors start flying. Some people are seeing account updates now. Some are seeing pending deposits. Some are hearing the phrase next week connected to payment activity. That does not mean everyone gets paid next week. Social Security processes corrections in waves. The system updates first, notices come later, deposits follow based on your payment cycle. That's why two people with similar situations can see activity weeks apart. Now, I need to say something very important. Just because your file is under review does not mean mean you should panic. And just because someone else received extra money does not mean you will. But you do need to pay attention. Here's what you should be doing right now. Read every Social Security notice carefully. Check your benefit verification letter for changes in payment amount. Look at deposit descriptions, not just amounts. If your account says under review, that is not a bad message. It means the system is working through something. What you should not do is respond to random phone calls or messages claiming to help you unlock money. Social Security does not operate that way. Now, here's the part that brings everything together. This review cycle is still unfolding. Some people will see increases, some will see no change. A few may need to provide clarification, but the goal of this process is not to take benefits away. It's to correct the record. And that's why what happens next matters more than what you're seeing right now. Now let's bring this home, because this is the part that matters most for your peace of mind. What's happening right now is not a one-day event. It's a process. Social Security reviews move in waves, not all at once. Some files are handled quickly, others take a few weeks. A small number may take longer if additional verification is needed. Here's what you should realistically expect next. If your file was reopened, you may receive an official notice explaining that your record was reviewed or updated. Some people will see a payment change before the letter arrives. Others will receive the letter first. That order varies, and it's normal. If money is owed to you, Social Security will release it. Sometimes that comes as a lump sum. Sometimes it shows up alongside a regular payment. And sometimes it adjusts your monthly amount going forward. But if the system finds that you were underpaid, that correction does not disappear. It gets resolved. If your account shows no changes, that's also okay. It simply means your file did not need correction during this review cycle. And here's the reassurance you need to hear clearly. A reopened file does not automatically mean a benefit cut. It does not mean trouble, and it does not mean you did something wrong. For many people, this process ends quietly, with clarity, not chaos. The most important thing you can do right now is stay calm. Read official notices carefully and ignore unofficial calls or messages. Social Security will not pressure you, threaten you, or rush you through corrections. If you're owed money, it will be corrected. If your file needed review, it's being handled. And if nothing changes, that means your benefits are already accurate. This is why staying informed matters. If you want clear explanations, real context, and updates that actually make sense, subscribe to the channel and stay connected. You deserve straight answers, and that's exactly what we bring you. Stay informed, stay steady, and remember, when Social Security systems move, clarity always follows.